historically, quite often customers will come to us and they say, we have a quote from somebody else. Give us the Dell equivalent. I am asking the sales teams not to just react to what somebody else has positioned, because we don't know if they positioned the correct product in the first place. So if you do reach out to your sales teams and you have a quote from somewhere else and you're asking for that Dell equivalent, don't be surprised if they ask, look, can we have a quick chat? I just want to understand how that device is going to be used, how long it's going to be used. They'll be looking to dig deeper just to really understand it, because we don't want to sell a device and then find, that you're not satisfied with it through the full lifespan of that unit. Okay. So I am going to show you some of these devices that we've launched. So currently we have launched the Dell Pro Plus and the Dell Pro Premium. So they would be replacing Latitude. Okay. Now it's not just a naming rebrand. This is a complete redesign. A lot's changing internally, a lot's changing externally. But I'm going to walk you through these particular devices. Now, bear in mind, these are Lunar Lake devices. So remember what I said, that the memory is on the chip. So there's no ability to upgrade your RAM at a later stage. Also with our Lunar Lake devices, there's no RJ45. So once we launch the other Intel and AMD offerings within these devices, you will find certain things like on the 16-inch device, non-Lunar Lake, RJ45 will be standard. Okay, on a 14-inch, it'll be optional. On a 13-inch, it's gone. Okay, and again, not to push the point, but this is why it's really important for our account teams to understand your user needs to make sure that we align the right product for you. So when you get to these devices, the 16-inch device, you'll get a lot of commonality between the 16, the 14, and the 13 in terms of ports and in terms of what's changing as standard. So all of our displays are going 16 by 10 aspect ratio. So your screens have got higher, all right? Part of that, and a lot of what we do is driven by customer feedback, but part of that is things like the tools, applications that we're using, even simple things like Excel. Having that higher screen means less scrolling. It's more efficient. Also, when we get to the keyboard view, making the screen higher has increased the palm rest, which has allowed us to put in a larger trackpad. And again, customer feedback, the trackpad's being quite narrow. It's not as efficient as having that larger trackpad. So we've been able to do that. In terms of things like cameras, we're going to stick with the physical manual privacy shutter. We have a 5 megapixel full HD IR camera, and we've stuck with HDR technology. So HDR, and I always relay this back to 1980s TV, where you've got the really grainy image and you got to move these rabbit's feet to try. And a lot of people won't understand what I'm talking about, but I'm just showing my age. But HDR, what it does is, regardless of the lighting situation, it balances it really well. So you look a lot better than you actually do in real life. So that's what you get with that. So 16 by 10, giving you that larger viewing working area. We'll have full HD and quad HD touch and non-touch on these particular devices. So when we get to the keyboard, you can see you have a much larger trackpad. Okay, so it's going to be more efficient, easier to use. One of the main differences, if you were on a 15-inch device and you go, well, do I go 14? Do I go 16? One of the main differences you'll find is with all the 16-inch devices, you'll have a full number pad. So if it's somebody in finance, if they're not necessarily docked all the time, hopefully with the Dell dock, and we have some great changes coming there soon, and a Dell wireless keyboard mouse setup, and everything else. And while I'm on that, there's a lot of value in. I operated my own business for about 17 years, and I always tried to pool what I was buying from a single supplier, because I'd have a single invoice to manage, a single PO to raise with them. Single transaction, one tracking. I get everything in, and it's all designed to work together. And if I have an issue, I've got one place to call. I don't have that issue where I call one guy and I say, this isn't working. They go, well, it must be this other thing that you bought. So getting everything together that's designed to work together and optimized to work together, it will help you commercially, because it'll improve your account team's ability to put pressure on finance to get you the best deal, but also single invoice, single PO, single tracking, and single point of support. And our support is award-winning. That's all I'll say on that. With the keyboards, we've stuck with the same backlit technology. So what you have currently on Latitude and Precision, you'll have a lot of commonality here. The way that we backlight the keyboards gives us a battery saving over our competitors, and that's why we stuck with it. Fingerprint reader will be optional. Copilot keys will be on everything. So that's your shortcut key to get straight to those new AI tools. So depending on if you're on Windows 11, there's some standard kind of functionality that's there. If you've upgraded your licensing, there'll be additional tools available on it. The trackpad I've mentioned. In terms of things like ports, actually, let me jump back. A big change internally. So we've redesigned the motherboards on all of these products. So the ones yet to launch will have the same thing. But we've a core central board, and that houses all of your critical infrastructure. So your CPU, your NPU, your RAM, your SSD, everything is on that central board. And then we have two supporting bridges for your ports. Now, the USB-C ports are now bolted to the board. They're no longer soldered. And the reason that we've done that, and I have a perfect example on my own 7330 device that I have here. First month, I damaged one of my USB-C ports. Now, I'm struggling on with it because I have a second port, which I'm being very careful with. But the reason I don't want to get it fixed is I'd have to back up all my data. I'd have to hand it over. We'd have to do a motherboard swap. They'd have to re-image my device. And then I'd have to go and find where I've backed up everything, pull it all down, see what I need, what I don't need. It's a big hassle. So with this new setup, bolting the board, the ports, those modular ports to the board are far more robust, so less likely to be damaged in the first place. And if they are damaged, we get an engineer out, we replace just that port, so you don't need to reimage the device. You get that device back into the user's hands a lot quicker. From a sustainability point of view, we're using less material in that repair, so it's better for the environment. And also, what I would advise you to do, reach out to your account teams, because we can share now the product brochures and technical guidebooks for the products that we've already launched. But have a look at the sustainability piece within that product brochure. We've done a huge amount in terms of recycled cobalt, metals, aluminium, ocean-bound plastics. We started that process before our competition. We have some really high goals that we want to hit to get to that kind of circular economy. But the product brochure will break that down in a lot more detail for you. Or set up a call. We can always, we do one-on-one calls with customers. We have a chat about what's changing, why it's changing, all this kind of thing. So more than happy to go into more detail. But that's the key thing in here is the changes to the motherboard, separating that to make fixes easier and less likely to be needed in the first place. When you get to ports, so HDMI, USB-A, dual USB-C, so that'll have 3 bolts holding that to the board, so really strong, and your optional smart card reader. When I get to the 14-inch device, I'm just going to jump straight to the ports because you've got a lot of commonality. So even though you've gone from a 16 to a 14, on the non-Lunar Lake devices, the only thing that's going to change is the RJ45 will be optional versus standard on the 16-inch devices. So over on the other side, you've your lock mechanism, USB-A, headphone jacks. We still have them. I know they're gone off of every phone at this stage, which is a bit of a pain. But yeah, we've kept them in there. And then your SD card reader, which would be there as well. Around the back, so the only changes from a logo perspective is we've lost the circle from around the Dell naming. Doesn't make any difference other than, I suppose, if you're looking at your estate, and just at a first glance, you can tell what's previous gen and what's going to be the new gen moving forward. As we have made changes to the motherboard, it's also allowed us to change the thermals and how we clear the air out of those devices. So it's now rear firing vents on these units, and again, that's common across the platform. When it comes to durability, we put these through some crazy testing. So things like hinge cycle testing, we do 20,000 hinge cycle testing. And regardless of whether it's, the entry device, this Pro Plus device, or the Magnesium Premium device, they all go through the same testing. So we will go through drop testing. We will go through testing where, we apply a lot of pressure repeatedly to things like the track pads, or we'll hold them on the corner and we'll wiggle them to mimic somebody walking through the office holding the device the way they shouldn't really hold the device. but the chassis can more than handle that. And we do the exact same testing across the board. So you're not compromising if you're going to a base model when it's available at the end of this month, or the plus model or the premium model. Really, it's a commercial conversation, and it's more about the materials that have gone in, which obviously reduce the costs when you go to that base model. Last thing to note on this particular one is where we have the service tag, there is a plan to put a QR code. So you scan that code, it'll take you straight to the support for that device. So again, speeding up, the device comes in to getting it supported, to getting it fixed and back into the user's hands. Very quickly, because I can see I'm running out of time here, and this is my problem. I ramble a little bit, so I apologize. With the Dell Pro Plus, you have the option for that laptop or 2-in-1 chassis. So with the 13 and 14-inch models, you can go laptop or 2-in-1, okay? With the 16-inch devices, they're laptop only, okay? And then very quickly, because I'm running very short on time, the Dell Pro Premium. So if you were on a 9 series Latitude, or if you were an XPS user, you'll find a lot of the features from those devices roll into the new Dell Pro Premium. As a premium device, it has some premium features. So your camera, you're up to an 8-megapixel camera. We're going to be the first ones to market with a Quad HD tandem OLED display. So it's 2 displays, one on top of the other, really premium look and feel, crazy vibrant colors. It actually uses less power, and it weighs less than a standard display, but that'll be a really nice feature of it. When you come to the keyboard, so we have that zero lattice keyboard, which is really nice to type on. Again, you will have your Copilot key, your fingerprint reader will be optional. You'll see flashing away down here in the bottom, there's a collaboration touchpad. This is optional. These keys are only active when you're in a Teams or a Zoom call, so you won't accidentally be hitting them. And as I said, it is optional. The other thing to mention on this guy is we have dual firing speakers. So if you've used any of our 5 Series Precision in the past, we have dual firing speakers on that. So it's much louder, much richer. We use the same AI tools that we use in our headsets that we do in our devices. So you could use this as a speakerphone in a less than ideal environment like a cafe, and it'll perform really well. It'll cut out a lot of that background noise. I have 2 dogs behind me here. One of them barked during this call, and I bet nobody heard it. And it's the AI noise cancellation that I have going on here. Now that I've said that, I hope nobody heard it. But anyway, that's that. In terms of with this device, because it's the thinnest and lightest that we do, where you do compromise is things like your ports. So when you go thin and light, you lose some of the ability to have additional ports on here. So really, this device is all about mobility. It's Lunar Lake only, so no upgrade on RAM. And it's all about battery life, performance, mobility. So people who are face-to-face with customers, for example, traveling around a lot, need to be able to operate the device all day long and not have to worry about plugging it in. And obviously, AI is a conversation all of its own. And the whole purpose of these Lunar Lake type devices, or Qualcomm or AMD, and having that neural processing unit is to be able to manage and handle those AI workloads. So again, this is a conversation I would recommend you have with the account team. They can pull the likes of myself or Richie on, get an understanding of what your plans are around AI, because anybody who lags behind, I feel, in this kind of AI ramp up will be disadvantaged from a business perspective. Like, we're using a lot of AI tools now, and there's a lot more coming, which will give us a lot more intelligence. It'll extract a huge amount of value out of our data sets, and it'll help us to continue to grow the business. So I know it's very quick, a lot to fit into 30 minutes, and apologies, I probably ran over slightly.
Thanks, Paul. That was great. I know we don't have much time to play with, but I just want to thank you for all the effort you've put into to go through that. I hope from your perspectives that have listened to the call, thank you for your gift of your time. I hope it's helped to give you a starter. Please reach out to your account team to have further discussions where you need them. We're here to help you to get you to the right solutions. And we want to wish you a great rest of your Friday and have a great weekend. So thank you from myself, Richie Fontaine, and from Paul O'Shea. Until the next time, see you soon. Bye-bye.
Thanks all. Thank you.